You don't have to answer right now because I know it's hard to get in front of an audience of people like this. Can you show me that anything Kamala has done that shows she's better at Trump than what Trump did?
I wonder how this is going to go wrong.
3 things.
No.
That's okay. I appreciate that. Yeah. I want to encourage you to do your research because it is it's very tempting to fall for propaganda that you just see on.
And even more corrosive, it's very tempting to fall for a paradigm which says you can be a hero, you can have virtue, you can have status, just as a result of sacrificing your individual identity, and with it, the necessity for you to objectively engage in the world in a way that is aligned with a coherent ideal.
Think about what we said. And
so how's this going to go wrong? Did we have another 30 seconds?
Okay, yes. Let's turn Arizona blue, everybody.
You see, man, that was not the right. I let you off so mercifully. I mean, dude, you said turn Arizona blue. You can't answer. You couldn't say 3 words in a row. Okay, so it's like, I asked you one thing. It's ridiculous.
All right.
Bad faith actor, man. I try my best to find common ground. You say something like that. It's ridiculous. Next question.
Charlie Kirk is justifiably upset there. I would be upset too in that moment because what you're finding is actually you're turning over a rock, and what you're finding underneath the rock is, oh my gosh, it's a psychopath. Because the left makes people into psychopaths. When your ideology tells you you're above reality and any person that is engaging in reality or objectivism, as you saw here, oh, this guy's engaging in thoughtful, polite, reciprocal, objective inquiry based on an ideal that wants to make the world better and make sense of things using logic and rationality, and then you're like, oh, but I'm not going to listen or care about that because I'm a better person. It reveals you as a psychopath. That's the definition of psychopathy, and that's the reason Charlie got upset, and that's justifiable because I would be upset too. Okay, guys, the election is right around the corner, and I just found a video of Charlie Kirk. It's one of the last appearances he's going to do before the election. I have not seen this. Apparently, this is a clout chaser. I don't know if he's like a TikToker or if he has a YouTube channel or whatnot, but you know that we like analyzing these videos because you always find some new element to the psychopathic anti-reality sentiments of the left and their resentment for objective reality and coherence. So let's see what happens. Let's get into it.
I think that's a bad faith question.
All right.
Bad faith actor, man. What's your name?
Miles.
Give it up for Miles. He's disagreeing
Miles,
with us,
how
I
are
imagine,
you?
today.
From that intro, it seemed like Charlie Kirk was a little bit heated, so this probably goes poorly.
Hey, Miles.
Not for Charlie, but whenever somebody who cares about truth gets upset, it means that the conversation was low quality and actual intellectual seriousness wasn't put at the forefront. So that's always unfortunate.
Hey, Rob.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good.
And nice seeing you again.
Good seeing you again.
Yeah, yes, perfect. Okay. I don't know. But my question is, when you go to these like events, like major Republican, conservative, is it like now, do you face some bias when you're speaking, or do you...
There's such a huge crowd surrounding them. It's enormous. Trump's winning by a lot.
Believe some of the stuff that you're actually saying? Because I know you have like good quotes and stuff, but I just feel like when you're like in a sea full of like MAGA hats and stuff, is it not like hard to like speak against that, or do you like actually believe everything that you're saying in a way?
It's a psychopathic question, but the left actually operates from a position of maybe we'll say things that we don't believe in order to appease a cult. See, free thinkers don't have to live in that paradigm. It's a paradigm that purely exists when your ideology says sacrifice your individual identity on the altar of group identitarianism, which will give you virtue and status. We don't play that game, the left plays that game. And so, of course, you would see a leftist engaging in that type of system. And to us, that's foreign, that's alien. And it's not just, if you understand what's going on, it doesn't have to be insulting. You just understand, oh, right, this leftist doesn't understand that that people say ideas based on the intrinsic merit of them. That's a foreign concept to them. So this type of outlook is very common for the left.
Yes, I do believe everything I'm saying.
Yeah, I think...
And also, it's the reason why I said it's psychopathic is because Charlie's surrounded by a bunch of people that are there for him, right? It's obviously a massive crowd, and they're there not because he tyrannized them into being there or because they're all taking part in a charade. They all literally believe that men can't get pregnant. We should have liberty. We should have freedom. You shouldn't castrate children. Censorship is bad. The Constitution is good. Very basic tenets that when you're thinking, again, based on merit, it's easy to understand.
I think that's a bad faith question.
Yeah, it's obviously a bad faith question, but the entire position of the left is bad faith, which is the deeper realization that I think undergirds all of left-wing positions.
Do, because your assumption is that we are insincere in our beliefs, but we're here. The only benefit that we have here to come here today is to talk to people like yourself, because we love our country and we really want to make sure that there are
this is a foreign concept. All these words, it's as if he's speaking a different language. He has to, this fellow has to interpret, like when he hears "I love my country," he doesn't understand that people can actually love America, because the narrative he's been told is that America is oppressive because it isn't built on the cult structure of the leftist identitarian authoritarian regime. So it must be oppressive, it must be anti-meritocratic. They don't even believe in a meritocracy. So again, it's speaking a foreign language.
Things that are happening now that we feel are potentially fundamentally disrupting what has been so great about this greatest experiment in human history, which is this unfettered free speech that the woman that you're supporting, Kamala Harris, and her running mate Walls paper. They said that the free speech, they describe it as a privilege. Now, this is either they're constitutionally ignorant or...
Right. Well, the left views all things that are good as either coming from their ideology or not being good. And so the concept of rights being inalienable and derived based on first principles, being imbued with your humanity, doesn't sit well with them, because it states intrinsically an individual identity with which postmodern neo-Marxism denies. It references an objective moral landscape, which of course is untenable to them. They're all morally relativistic and nihilistic, as well as believing that right and wrong is wishy-washy and situation dependent based on what their ideology says at a given time. Oh my gosh, we're so inclusive, while they call people that attend the Madison Square Garden rally and then a date later labeling all of their opponents garbage. They don't believe in any higher accountability structure than their ideology.
Or they're knowingly false, because it is a guaranteed First Amendment right for all Americans. It is not a privilege like a driver's license. When you are born in America, you have the right to speak your mind, and it isn't the nice stuff that needs protecting. It's the stuff that everybody disagrees with. If someone's going to decide what free speech that you say and what I say, if it's going to be the government, they're always going to do what's best for the government.
The left believes they're better than you, and so this is a very difficult first principle to get away from. They actually believe they're superior to you as a result of them being a part of the structure that grants virtue and you not being a part of that. That structure, of course, being identitarianism and victim-based hierarchies. They don't believe in competence, merit, individualism, quality of character, etc., because that's all representative of objective reality.
So we need to protect all speech. And I'm going to protect your right to free speech. I'm going to protect your right to vote any way that you want from the highest mountain, always.
So in the spirit of hearing ideas that we might always hear, tell us why you're supporting Kamala Harris.
I just like her character more than I like Trump. I don't like it.
I didn't know her character was something worth.
I like that she's trying to like work for the middle class. That's what I see a lot, and I think that's what she is.
Raising taxes, inflation. Oh man.
So yeah, Miles.
The left just cares about repeating the right lines, not reflecting reality.
So I have a question. What has she or Joe Biden done for the middle class in the last 4 years?
No, not too sure about that.
That's okay. So
but I'm like slowly getting there.
No, that's
like,
okay.
Election day, I feel like that's okay. We can like work our way up.
For sure, no, and it takes a lot of courage to come up to an event like this. So let me tell you where we're coming from, and then maybe I can convince you to trade out that hat for a MAGA hat. Just maybe, okay? That's a long shot. We'll see. So Kamala Harris is part of a tradition of career politicians that run very persuasive, sexy political advertisements.
Right, based on identity and victimhood hierarchies.
That are nowhere in alignment with what they've actually done.
Yeah, it's an inversion of reality. Everything they do and say is the opposite of the truth.
So let's look at the issues we care about most. I imagine, Miles, you want to be able to own a home?
Yeah.
At some time?
That's like my main goal. I want to like own
awesome.
a home.
And good. Honestly, Miles, everybody in this audience should be able to own a home as easily as your parents were. But right now, especially here in Phoenix, it's so out of grasp. When Trump was president, the average mortgage rate in Phoenix, Arizona, mortgage payment was $700 a month.
Here comes the facts.
Now it's $2,000 a month here in the city of Phoenix. Said differently, it required $75,000 a year to buy a home in Phoenix when Trump was president. Now it's $135,000 a year to buy a home. You might say, well, Charlie, how is that Biden and Kamala Harris's fault? They decided to spend $6 to $7 trillion of unnecessary government spending right out of the gate that increased asset prices. Additionally, they allowed 10 million people into the country that we didn't account for. That also increases the demand for housing, especially here in this state. So we really care about the ability for you to be able to own the home. And if Kamala Harris is going to do it, she would have done it these last 4 years. Secondly, we care about ending the wars. I bet you're pretty interested in that. War is not, no, maybe?
No, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Let's end the wars.
Yeah, so Kamala Harris has demonstrated and surrounded herself with people that are aggressively in favor of the Russian-Ukrainian
Yeah. So Charlie's doing a great job here. I'm wondering how this is going to go south.
war, and the same people that designed the failed wars of Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, and Libya. For example, Liz Cheney, Dick Cheney, Leon Panetta, John.
What's clear is that it's going to go south as a result of this guy being dishonest or disrespectful, which is disgusting considering Charlie is not just being polite, he's being familiar. He's talking with this guy as if he's his friend. So I'm curious to see how this is going to go wrong.
John Bolton. Donald Trump is the only president of an unbroken chain of 32 years to start no new wars and actually bring peace to the Middle East. We did not have any new wars under Donald Trump. And finally, I mentioned this briefly, the border. I believe that everyone in this audience should be given preference above somebody who illegally comes into our country that was not welcome or invited. When Trump was president, we had the most secure border.
This is all first principle-based, objectively true. In other words, not controversial to any person who is thinking using logic, reason, or sanity, which means that any person who disagrees with it is engaging in an entirely different mental framework than using logic, mental seriousness, and orienting themselves with an ideal that is coherent and reflective of a desire to make the world better. This is one of the most fundamental lies at the core of the left, because they claim that they want to make the world better, but actually they're driven by an ultimate resentment for all things coherent. They're driven by resentment for humanity. This is the reason why they want to decrease humanity's footprint in all manifestations, whether that be consumption of energy or the number of babies being born. Their agenda becomes clear at the edges when it bleeds through and you realize, oh, wait a second, you're motivated by nothing but resentment. What you're seeing here is the spirit of Cain.
In history, under Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, we've had 10 million people and they get taxpayer-funded benefits. They get luxury hotel rooms. They get flights into the interior of the country. And so on those three issues,
you can see again that bleeding through of the resentment coming when he smiles when Charlie says these things, basically taking enjoyment or poorly disguised glee at the fact that illegal immigrants are being put up in 5-star hotels while we have homeless veterans. Again, you see that the left actually wants to damage civilization. And when you ask yourself why and follow it to the core by studying psychology and history, the answer is resentment.
Home ownership, the border, and war, Donald Trump doesn't just say he did. And I would just ask you, you don't have to answer right now, because I know it's hard to get in front of an audience of people like this. Can you show me that anything Kamala has done that shows she's better at Trump than what Trump did on those?
Dude, look at these guys. They're taking notes. They're speaking logically, rationally. I wonder how this is going to go wrong.
Three things.
No.
That's okay. I appreciate that. Yeah. I want to encourage you to do your research because it is very important. It's very tempting to fall for propaganda that you just see on.
And even more corrosive, it's very tempting to fall for a paradigm which says you can be a hero, you can have virtue, you can have status, just as a result of sacrificing your individual identity, and with it, the necessity for you to objectively engage in the world in a way that is aligned with a coherent ideal. Because leftism is based on a premise of lies. The lies is resentment for anything true, for anything coherent, because coherence takes the place of a rotten, broken, inverted hierarchy of victimhood and identitarianism based on race and sex. We should reject racism and sexism and stand instead for intellectual seriousness and coherence.
TV. I bet a lot of people here in the audience can give you something to think about and something to consider, because Kamala Harris,
so far this has gone incredibly well.
She does not care for you. She cares about her own political career. Trump is different. Last thing I'll say is this. The guy's been shot multiple times, facing 700 years in prison. They took all of his money from him, his business empire, and he keeps on fighting. There's something about him where he cares deeply about the well-being of your life and your livelihood to put our country first. So, Rob, do you want to add something to that?
I just want to say something that's really important. What's happened under this administration, the Biden-Harris administration, and this affects all of you. They've secretly, not so secretly, put in the selective service back in, and I do not want any of you fighting on foreign soil, any of you fighting on any wars. Any of you. I don't want it. And
you see a bit of uncomfortability there in that guy's psyche at being reminded that this is a space of actual virtue and caring about people, given that that's the monopoly the left claims to have, even though they prove themselves wrong constantly.
As far as democracy...
It's interesting how, as the elections approach, the left asymptotically reveals that they are fraudulent in all ways.
democracy. They say they're saving democracy. Well, let me just go over this, because Bernie Sanders technically had won in 2016 the Democratic nomination for president, but they didn't give it to him. They used these super delegates to dump him and put in who they wanted undemocratically in the primary in 2016. In 2020, again, Biden lost the first two.
Right, because they knew it would set their agenda of ultimate communism and Marxist resentment back enormously to have socialism represented as an alternative to capitalism and meritocracy.
Primaries, and they just...
As, of course, is the nature of capitalism and meritocracy.
Made everybody else drop out, and so you had no choice. If you were a Democratic voter in 2020, you had to vote for Biden. The same thing again this year. 14 million people voted for Biden in the Democratic primary, and none of those votes count because they just decided to take him out because they thought they could lose, and they just anointed Kamala Harris with 0 votes. That is not democracy, that is tyranny, and it gives you a little taste of what they intend to do if they remain in power. So I wish you the best. Think about this, and I'm going to give you a hat just in case you want to wear it.
And Miles, let me just ask, what we talked about, those 3 things, did you hear that previously before in a fair setting?
No, I did not hear it in fair setting as before, but it's good to be
Of course, because the left demonizes any attempt to engage in logic, reason, or rationality as oppressive and patriarchal and untenable. And it's in the ethos, it's in the air. As soon as you, for instance, at a college campus, if you were to start to say maybe we should reject any of these principles of the left, they get enraged. The reason they get so upset and furious instantly is because they can't defend their ideas. And so once you challenge them, there's no rebuttal but to say you're a bad person. And once they do that, they lose you and also risk revealing themselves as frauds in front of everyone else. So it really, the antidote in some sense is courage in the face of their counterfeit virtue.
On one-on-one and just like have a conversation about that.
Cool. Well, Miles, I want to thank you for coming up. Please.
Hey, Miles, appreciate talking.
Think about what we said, and
So how's this going to go wrong, dude? We have another 30 seconds.
Okay, yes. Let's turn Arizona blue, everybody.
you see, man, that was not the right. I let you off so mercifully.
Hey, you know what though? We're gonna do what's best for you. I mean that. We're always gonna look out for every.
I was trying to find common ground, man. That was.
I know leftists are psychopathic, dude. they're commanded to be psychopathic.
It's just all right.
That's okay. No, but it's totally okay because the difference is between.
I mean, dude, you said turn Arizona blue. You can't answer. You couldn't say 3 words in a row. Okay, so it's like, I asked you one. It's ridiculous.
All right, all right.
Bad faith actor, man. I try my best to find common ground. You say something like that. It's ridiculous. Next question.
Charlie Kirk is justifiably upset there. I would be upset too in that moment because what you're finding is actually you're turning over a rock, and what you're finding underneath the rock is, oh my gosh, it's a psychopath, because the left makes people into psychopaths. When your ideology tells you you're above reality and any person that is engaging in reality or objectivism, as you saw here, oh, this guy's engaging in thoughtful, polite, reciprocal, objective inquiry based on an ideal that wants to make the world better and make sense of things using logic and rationality, and then you're like, oh, but I'm not going to listen or care about that because I'm a better person. It reveals you as a psychopath. That's the definition of psychopathy, and that's the reason Charlie got upset, and that's justifiable because I would be upset too. And any person should be upset when encountering a psychopath who believes they're not only better than you, but better than reality. This is a common thread that we're seeing revealed across the board right before the election. They can only revert to, you're a bad person if you don't agree with us, we don't engage in logic, rationality. This is a critical flaw that the left, if they will ever recover, will have to face the century of how do they recover from divorcing themselves from objective reality and demonizing coherence itself as oppression. Subscribe to the channel. I appreciate you guys watching.